Hi, this is Isaac from Solar Cycle with an update for the Solar Cycle off-grid solar-powered tiny home. So far the upgrades for the, you can see the battery storage system, inverter charge controller system, and I also put the temporary shelf for the computer that's displaying all the battery system data, which can also be remotely monitored from the supplier for the system. So, and the big upgrade that I did was I completed the ceiling panel in the loft. So, I'll show you that real quick. So on the front of the loft area, I completed the ceiling panel along with the electrical work needed for the corner light there. So let's take a quick look. So here's the switch panel. Turn that light on and off. And you can see there's enough room to crouch up. Not enough room to stand, but enough headroom to kneel and just crawl around pretty easily. And another thing with the switch panel is you can also, from this loft area, you can also control the living room light. In case you forgot to turn it off, you don't have to go downstairs. So there's just these little conveniences just to make it a little bit easier that, you know, when you're reducing this living space, try to put as much comfort and convenience features to compensate for any lack of space, which you need to do from the initial design. So you don't have, it's a lot easier to design it in the first try rather than to try and retrofit it. The ceiling panel, because of coronavirus, there's it's harder to get two people to work on the tiny home. So I'm kind of doing most of the work by myself. And installing a panel like this is not the with just one person is not the easiest thing in the world, but I was able to do it. Another thing I'd like to mention is typically on tiny home designs, you'll hear a lot about the loft getting very hot, and heat rises. The loft is close to the roof, and so that's where the sun hits and radiates a lot of heat. And what a lot of the solutions that you find are to basically open all the windows and see if you can get like a cross breeze going, and which it does work for the most part, but what ends up happening is not only do you let a breeze come through, but you're also basically any cooler air that might have been stored in your tiny home overnight, because you know, overnight temperature goes down, and even though the loft is hot, you open all the windows, you could still release all the cooler air from other parts of your tiny home. And this is where the Energy Recovery Ventilator comes into play. So the Energy Recovery Ventilator is this piece of equipment right here, and the way that it is oriented right now is the fresh air coming into the tiny home is actually pointed directly into the loft here. So it's going to blow, circulate around the loft area, and then as that's circulating, it'll then circulate through the rest of the tiny home. And the air that's leaving the tiny home comes through the vent on this side here, so which is pointed more towards the living room space. So the way where the energy recovery comes into place is as the stale air, also maybe containing some off-gassing from materials as it leaves, and if it has cool air overnight, has your tiny home has cooled overnight. As that cooler air is leaving, it's actually cooling the hotter outside air that's coming into the tiny home. So what you're doing is versus just opening your window and completely just doing 100% air exchange, you're actually exchanging air, but you're also exchanging temperature. So it will reach equilibrium. It slows down the thermal shock. So the instead of just opening a window, letting the warm air, getting a cross breeze, but letting the warm air in and just like dumping whatever cooler air you had in the tiny home out, you're doing a much slower process, and that's where the energy recovery comes into place. So right now, there is actually a little breeze coming through the loft, and it's hot outside right now, and it actually feels rather cool in this loft with the breezes coming from the energy recovery ventilator right onto me. And you want this energy recovery ventilator pretty much on 100% of the time because of the small space. You don't want the exhaling and just breathing and just off-gassing material in a smaller space. You don't want that to build up. And then this is the inlet side, and this is the exhaust air that's leaving the tiny home, and this is the outside air that's coming into the tiny home. And they're on separate sides of the wall, so they're not going to interfere and cross the with each other. So they're completely separated. So that's pretty much the update for today. And what's left will be this was basically my last sheet of plywood, so I have to get another batch of pre-finished birch, and after that batch, that should be enough material to complete the build of the interior space. And then it would be the last step after that would be to finish all the appliances for the kitchen, bathroom area, and hook up the propane system. So that's the latest updates. Another calculation that I did was you can actually size the system to use completely 100% solar electrical energy without any propane. And this is a 20-foot trailer, so what would be required is to get the next size up, 24-foot trailer, and then extend the number of solar panels to 7 with 6 panels connected to the battery system that's about quadruple the size of what I have, and the 7th panel being directly connected to a DC water heater. And that system would power not only the cooking, the heating, the cooling through an AC system, incinerator, toilet. It would also power all your lights, electrical devices. So it is possible to just scale this up. And of course a prototype is needed to verify and fine-tune all the math required to estimate properly. You don't want to be off with these calculations. You want to be pretty right on, because if you make a mistake and you run out of power, that's not a good time. So yeah, that's the update, and I'll let you know when another round of improvements is completed. So like, share, and subscribe, and I hope to release this design fairly soon with all the 3D CAD models and schematics and drawings, so you can also use the design and do your own improvements and your own custom designs that you would want in your own tiny home. And maybe even we can, at Solar Cycle, can provide a service for that need if you need expertise in design as well. So that's the hope. So again, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll keep you posted with updates. Thanks.